Well, I'm in my middle 70s, a grandma, a mother, a sister, an auntie, a woman of prayer. And I've been walking this good road for almost 4 decades with our community. And out of that walk has the mother herself has brought many, many elders up our road to initiate us and to help us remember how to walk a way of life that is based on all life is sacred and on the original principles that hold that teaching. And it was through all of that work that the ministry got put in motion. And it's been quite an amazing miracle unfolding over all these years. We created a 2-year program that she gave us, and we went into meditation and caught the parts of itself so that it could activate an alchemical process in each and every person that came to sit at that table, knowing where they were in their own awareness and what needed to awaken for them to really walk their divinity path, that path that their whole soul has called them to put in motion while they're here walking in 2 legs, human beings that we are as part of this creation. And it got my attention, particularly a couple of years after we had launched the program. The mother came and she said to me, I am calling in all those that will help carry this consciousness to awaken the world into a new dawn. She said to me, those points will light up and create a grid around this planet, because there will come a time when you can no longer travel. And then those grids, those points of light, will be able to catch the consciousness wave that I'm generating at that time to keep things in motion. And so I wasn't quite sure what all of that meant when she said that to me. But when the pandemic came and no one could travel, it got my attention in a very loud way. And it also validated the work that had unfolded since that message had come. Because now we have almost 500 ministers of walking prayer that are situated in lots of different countries around this planet, creating that grid she spoke about. They go through 2 years of an alchemical process, a formula she gave us in order to awaken their consciousness and to bring them into an expression of their full authenticity. So I've come to feel very humbled that we all get to gather in this way and walk this way. And it has also expanded and deepened our community that is also global. And has been committed since its inception to awakening, healing, and activating what it means to walk in divine presence and have your full presence conscious in your form, so that you can be of a service to this amazing prophetic moment of time we're sitting in. Well, if I reflect upon that, what I see with the modules, first of all, I think it's important to realize that we've really been able to catch a flow of how this unfolds itself for each of those in study, through activating a full holistic kind of understanding and training, so that we activate all the levels of your being. In other words, that means that it's very personal. You get to have time with each of the teachers. We have a diversity of expression of what it means to walk in a sacred way, honoring and embracing the diversity of those kinds of walks from different spiritual practices from around the world. So we have teachers that represent those modules and bring you deeper into study. Some of those studies move in the first year, particularly helping you understand what it means to follow process. That in the Western model of things, it has been about more of a cognitive approach and extractive attitudes to what can I get. So I really encourage everyone that might be considering this to allow your attitude to shift to not what am I going to get out of this process, but more what am I doing to encourage and embrace and follow and empower my own process. Because what this will start to do is shift how we walk on the planet, shift our attitudes from an extractive attitude of what can I get, what can I extract from life in order to survive life, into an attitude of how do I align with the nature of life and follow that, so that I can offer service into life and care for life again. I think that first year is really about moving that lens of perception. We look at also what does it mean for a spiritual emergence process to occur in people, because those processes erupt sometimes, are open in such expanded ways that it can be confusing. So our community is about holding those moments as sacred, holding those moments so you feel held and safe and can allow your process to unfold. And as it does, it brings up things that need healing, sometimes physical things that need healing, sometimes mental things or emotional things, or deep spiritual things, not only for you, but it is something that looks at the intergenerational line that you hold in your families. So it's a selfless act that brings you forward and offers a service to all that you love. I think then in the second year, we start to move more into what does that application of service look like? And so we get to be touched by some of the teachings of different lines around the planet, traditional lines of prayer. Some of those lines represent our medicine ways and the intelligence of nature that is taught and helped and awakened in each of us, because we are part of this creation. We're not lords over it. We care for life instead of try to hold on or control life. And that is application of service gets to be fine-tuned or activated in such a way that as you dive deeper into that application, you begin to touch your own service chord, your own expression of your authenticity that will bring something into this creation story in a moment that is prophetic and what I call the mother's making moment, because we're moving into a whole new cycle. A 26,000-year cycle is opening, and the mother herself is in an ascension process. And we're all part of that. And if anybody's listening to this right now, you're part of that. You're significant in the making moment. When young people come into this world and are so already wired to access that larger part of who we are, and then they're told they're lying or they're making it up or they're exaggerating or they get punished for it, all these things take place, or they get marginalized for who they are when they're fully in their authenticity. So our community, I'm glad to say, after this many years, almost 4 decades of walking together, we have babies that were born into this community and were seen for who they were the first moment they came. And they were empowered in that understanding of who they are. And they're still walking in that way, and they're still helping carry on some of the lineages that we were passed by many of our original people's elders in order to care for this planet and to be made aware of how far off we had come from that alignment with nature and the intelligence of nature. And that attracted our community. And we grew up inside of this community together, and waking up is sometimes very messy. And we came to understand that too. You know, when a baby is born, it pops out, but it's not pristine and clean. It's so messy. We were messy at times, but we made a commitment as a community that when we wanted to fully awake ourselves, because we knew that when we are unconscious, we harm and we hurt. We don't mean to necessarily, but that's what we do. And when I realized that, it was like this light bulb went on, because it was like, well, then you're conscious or you're unconscious. If I don't want to be unconscious and harm things, which is part of our path, do no harm, then I must do whatever I can to cultivate my consciousness and wake me out of this sleep so that I can walk with kindness. So our community committed to being kind to one another. And when we would fall asleep, because as human beings, we go in and out of that space at times, especially during our awakening and individuation process, that someone would say, hey, Jyoti, do you know you've been sleeping? Whoa, what I did? What did I? Ooh, did I step on anything? Let me correct it. Let me get back in line. Let me stay awake. Let me stay awake. Let me stay awake. So a lot of this training is about being held in a community of kindness so that you can be messy. You can let go of expectations or judgments on yourself, or that fear that others will judge you. And we're all waking. So we have to have a sense of humility and a great amount of courage and tolerance in order for us to return to that alignment with our own nature and divine nature that is held within, but is also expressed without. I would share that early on in my walk, I was given a teaching. And that teaching was, when something comes to call you like this, something that is divine in its nature, then you must take a moment and really consider it. Because when you say yes, the way my teachers gave it to me, when you say yes to something like this, then you must continue the journey until that prayer that you put in motion plants itself. So there'll come times in this 2 years of an alchemical process when certainly it'll flush up those fears or those self-doubts or those worries that make you want to fight or flight. The shadow of what you're walking with will be revealed, and it's in those moments that you must remember this teaching and keep on walking. As the elders said to me with the Native American church, if you ask someone to run a meeting for your life, you usually have a prayer or an intention that you're holding. Maybe you've got a physical ailment. Maybe there's your life seems to be in one of those moments where everything falls apart before it comes back together and moves on. And you're wanting help. You're wanting to get into what that means so that you can stay very awake in this moment that life is crafting. So once you give that tobacco to the elder that will run that ceremony, that's when you've said yes and you've put the prayer in motion. And then everything will come from all directions, from your dreams, from your outer world, from your everyday living situations, through the synchronicities. Everything will come to address that intention. Sometimes those things are awesome, awe-inspiring. Sometimes those things are very big challenges because you have to look in the mirror and see a truth that you've been avoiding, or maybe your whole family has been avoiding for a long time. But those are the moment when that teaching comes, and you must embrace it and you must keep moving, because when you finally get to that night, when you're going to be in an all-night ceremony, and they're going to hold that intention that put this all in motion. They say by the time you get to that place where you bow your head to go into the door, into the teepee, then you're empty. Now you can fully receive and fill up with what that intention revealed and brought to you. And so for me, this ministry is like that. It's a ceremonial walk towards the self. It's the sacred moment that generates and brings you to your full authenticity if you just hold on to the yes and keep walking through those moments of challenge, because what is false will fall away. What is no longer necessary for your teaching with life will fall away, and you will stand fully in the light. And that's what we came here to do. What I've discovered over these years as this ministry has been put in motion is that each class comes and they are carrying a piece of the collective that needs transmuting or transforming. And you take that on as a collective yourselves. And so not only are you working on your personal expansion and your own involvement into self, you're also lifting something higher in the collective consciousness, so the awakening of this moment we're in can occur. I'm thinking now at the class that we had when the pandemic struck. What a big moment these people said yes to. They had no idea, most of them. None of us did. But what courage it took to walk through all the different shadowed materials that were being revealed, the truths of how we've all been colonized and separated from the nature of who we are. Big moment of that piece of the collective to be transformed. And they did it, and they did it well. I'm humbled by what I learn from all those that come to sit at Mother's table. I'm always humbled, and I never want to take for granted the community and the tools that she has given to this community to assist in these times. Because we're at a choice for our human beings like never before. And we are at a place where we must wake to the choice we're making. There are many tools that she's offered to many different people around the planet. This is the one that she handed to us. And I hold it with great humility and a sense of responsibility. To try to be as available as I can to sit with those that have the courage to awake. Pay attention to everything. What does that mean when I say that? Well, the instruction she's giving us right now is to stay in the present moment. When we stay in the present moment, we don't let our minds run ahead, because then that would bring fear into our present moment. We don't let our minds run behind us because that might bring regret into the present moment. But if we fully open to this practice, this spiritual practice of being in the present moment, then we begin to trust that everything we need, she will bring to us in that present moment. We no longer have to reach for things. We have to receive them. And in that present moment, those things can be awesome. They can be miracles. They can be huge shadow pieces. They can be healings. They can be many, many, many things. But it is not up to us to choose, because the mother herself is the most dynamic alchemist of all. And timing is the most important ingredient in alchemy. And she knows us. She knows the alchemical process that we must go through in order to manifest our full authenticity. So she brings to that present moment exactly what we need in that timing for the alchemical process to do that. And if we can have the courage to embrace it and stay in the present moment, once it's integrated and complete, then she takes us to the next moment and she brings the next ingredient for transformation. And when we do that, we begin to realize that all of a sudden we've moved out of that westernized, colonized way of life, and we have realigned with nature and its intelligence and our divinity. And it is what we're following now. And we have restored a trust in that which is calling. And a faith gets deeply planted as we awaken to that memory of who we are. When I first started on this path with these first choices of the awareness that was poking at me to wake to it, I realized that at the end of my trail, when I put my head down for the last time, I just did not want to be there and have a question of, I wonder what if. So I let go of my thinking. And as the old ones say, when the mind dies into the heart, then we're home again. Then we're reconnected to the intelligence that knows life. And that intelligence is love. And love is the strongest medicine there is for these times. It's a consciousness. It's an awareness. It is fully the being of who we are. And that journey is the experience I said yes to. That journey is what I came to take. And when we're considering something like our ministry, then your journey is knocking at your door. You know, I was told a long time ago that there's a story stalking us. And when we're strong enough to hold our own numinosity, that full consciousness, when we're strong enough to hold it, then that story pounces on us and takes us over. And the story then is the one walking that journey. And I found that to be so. And when you're inside of that walk, you get to witness what the Creator is moving out through your life and the archetypal story you came to live. And that's significant. So consider it. Take it deep into your meditation, into your dreams. Look for the synchronicities and those promptings from all of life around you as you're taking a walk in nature. Whatever or however she may present to you, when you hold that question, she will bring you many answers to look at that question and perceive it from a more expanded kind of place. So take a moment to do that work. And if you're ready, open the study to your journey for life. I think what comes up when you ask me that question, do we consider this study for life from a linear place? Do we overthink it? Or do we feel into it and deeply listen and witness that which may come up to say, are we ready for this? And I would say to you that if you're listening to this, if you've been called to this, and we've had so many stories of, I don't know why I'm here, I don't even know what you're doing kind of moment. It's kind of the pulse of something that's pulled you into something and you're not quite sure what this is about. And it kind of makes you a little nervous, maybe a little scared, maybe very excited. All these things can happen all at once. But most important is that you realize you've already been called to the table. You've already been called to the table. So that all by itself is a good thing. So choose not from your mind, not from that linear kind of thought pattern. Take a moment and dive deeper into what this question is provoking in you and why you're at the table. Then you might have the answer to if you're ready to open your study for your journey of life.